Hi guys, this is the Energetic Hope Cat. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing well. Today's video will be about Lord of the Rings. Okay, well, this story I shouldn't have to summarize because most of you have heard this story before from your families, or you've seen the movies, or you've read the books, or you were exposed to it as a kid. Unless you've been living under a rock your whole life, then that's terrible. But you guys should know the story pretty well, so I'm just going to get right into it. So, I personally am a huge fan of this story. I was exposed to it kind of on my own. I read The Hobbit first, and then I read the book series, or at least I attempted to read the stories. I read Fellowship of the Ring, got halfway through it, and well, that did not work because I got bored partway through the Council of Elrond chapter, and that was terrible, man. That was really terrible. So I decided to watch the movies instead. I realized I loved the movies, and I would watch them again and again and again. And I had so much fun with the movies. I feel like the things that the movies did well was pacing. It really did convey the feeling that something was going on. There was a lot of urgency. You needed to just go, because if you didn't go, the ring will never be destroyed. The books didn't really do that. It was kind of more like, la, 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 la. It's a lazy stroll. And that's not how the story's supposed to be told. I feel like it's supposed to be told with urgency. Like, uh-oh, Frodo's got to destroy the ring. He needs to bring the ring to Bree as fast as he can before Gandalf gets mad. He needs to go. He needs to find a safe place because the ring wraiths and Sauron are going to find him if he doesn't. They're looking for him, so go! And the books just kind of took it very slow. And Tolkien, I think the main weakness of Tolkien's writing is that he is so long-winded all the time. He doesn't consider the reader because, yeah, he's a linguistics professor and a scholar, and he loved languages. So he kind of had a knack for poetry and writing things in flowery prose that, like, nobody understands. People would call this Victorian English, and I could definitely see why they would call it that. I kind of think it's like Victorian English, and I think that if Tolkien were to write the books today, he'd have an editor complaining about everything. And the editor would be like, hey, dude, you need to take out all this. We don't need to hear about all these elf histories. Save that for another book of yours. Take those pages out and save that for another book. And I think that if he had an editor today, they'd probably say something like that. So too bad he didn't have an editor like that. Anyways, the movies really conveyed how quick things needed to be done, or else Gandalf would be disapproving of Frodo's laziness. Well, Frodo was not lazy. He left the Shire with Sam, Merry, and Pippin, and they went to Bree, but then Gandalf never showed up. He got caught up in some other affairs, so then they had to leave on their own with Aragorn, aka Strider, leading them. So yeah, they didn't really trust Strider at first. They thought he was kind of sketchy, kind of like a sketchy homeless person who lives on the streets, who is kind of creepy, and like, do we even trust him? He's kind of suspicious, or sus, as they'd say. Oh, we don't know. Everyone's just kind of like, I don't know if I trust him. He's kind of crazy. But then he turns out to be this very nice person who just needs a friend, and who just happens to be Aragorn, the King of Gondor. So they end up trusting him after a while. Being like, okay, he's a friend. He's no sketch. He actually is born for greatness, and we're glad of it. That kind of thing. So they end up leaving, and they end up going to destroy Sauron once and for all. So yeah. Now, I do think that Peter Jackson did a really good job with the sound effects. The sound effects are creepy. They're eerie. They make you feel at ease or on edge. They make you feel very uncomfortable almost. Like you want to sit on the edge of your seat and watch, but you want to run away, but then you're so engaged that you don't want to run away, like that. I think Peter Jackson and the team did so well on the movie adaptations. they just have to get the praise that they deserve. They deserve all the praise in the world. So shout out to everyone. This was literally a project of love. And I can't believe that the movies were made. I never thought the movies would be possible, but like when I watched it, I was like, wow, this is so wonderful. I would watch these movies again. The themes I found in the movies were sacrifice, so like Boromir risking his life for the hobbits and being concerned for their welfare. It was definitely one of the saddest but sweetest moments in the Fellowship of the Ring. It almost made me cry. I was close. And then Sam swimming in the water and Frodo saving him was such a sweet moment of friendship, and it was just a very like tear-jerking ending to the movie. I cried at the end of Fellowship of the Ring. I cried. And yeah, I couldn't stop for a moment because it was just a sweet moment. And plus the other moments in Fellowship of the Ring did hit me a little bit at the end there. Just I was processing it and it just started going at me. So like Gandalf's fall in Moria was very tragic, very dreadful. And I was like, no, what movie? And the movie didn't have to go that hard either. Like they didn't have to go that hard with the emotions of the characters, but the movie went hard. And I was like, great, thanks movie for making me cry my eyes out. And then Boromir's death kind of hit me at the end there when I wasn't ready for it. It just kind of randomly hit me and I was like, no, movie, no. So yeah, the ending of Return of the King really got the waterworks going for like a really long time. It definitely got me even more than Fellowship. I think the ending was so strong. When I was crying when I was watching the movie, and I said out loud, I said, "Gosh darn it! Who's cutting onions in here? I'm crying, and I don't want to be crying." And I was like, Frodo would be saying things about starting a new life or leaving the Shire, and I'm like, or like saving the Shire, and I'd like making commentary on what he was saying, like I'd be asking questions while crying. And I guess I am a true fan because now I can brag to my nerd friends that I cried watching the movies. The first time I watched the movies, the ending did make me sad, but it wasn't like the waterworks came at me. The second time I watched the movie was somewhat recently, back in December, and the waterworks got me both times. The first time it was like, oh no, it's like mild waterworks. The second time during the end of the Return of the King, it just got me like full waterworks, and it was bad. It was bad, okay? I mean, if you saw me at that moment, you would have been like, what's going on? What are you doing? And if you were another fan of the movies and you popped into my room and looked at the screen and saw what I was watching, you would have been like, oh, that's why she's crying. So I guess I'm not alone because all the other friends I know say they cry at the end of the movies, and they say that like, the ending is like really sad and all that stuff. So I'm happy because I'm not alone, and then I have other people who like understand why I'm like what I'm going through and all that stuff, or like what's going on with me at that moment. So I'm not alone. So it's normal. It's normal. But yeah, those are the endings that really made the emotional catharsis come and haunt me when I wasn't expecting it. It just came. And then it just came and I let it come. I didn't let it stop. It just came. It came and it just came and came and came until it went. And then the next day I felt all better again. So, yeah. So the scenes that warmed my heart would definitely be any scene that made me laugh. So any scene with Gimli being hilarious, or the "You Bow to No One" scene always makes people cry. It didn't make me cry, but it definitely warmed my heart because Aragorn and everyone were all bowing to the hobbits after they had gone and destroyed the ring. And like everyone starts to bow to Aragorn, but he's like, nope, you bow to no one. And then they start bowing to the hobbits, and now, I mean, it's Aragorn's like coronation, but yet he's giving that up for the hobbits because they are the ones who deserve praise since they helped to destroy Sauron forever, and they helped Aragorn get to the right place of mind. So he is like, it's Hobbit Day, woohoo! I'm smiling just thinking about it. But a lot of people do cry during that scene because it's like so heartwarming, it makes them cry. Full disclosure, I am not an easy crier. I don't cry very easily or very much unless I'm yelled at. That's like probably the only time I would cry, which is kind of strange because that's like, I don't know, because I don't cry when it comes to like movies and stuff or sad stuff, but I definitely do feel sad. But if someone like yells at me like, don't do this, go to your room, then it kind of gets me. I don't know, it's strange. I don't know, I guess I just don't like people yelling, I don't know. Unless it's in a movie. If people are yelling at one another in a movie, I get annoyed. I get kind of like, really? They don't need to argue? But I know it's a movie and I know it's not real. So I can handle that kind of yelling because I know it's in a movie and that it'll pass. Like if it's in real life, no. No, then it's different. You can't just fast forward it. But yeah. I intend to watch the movies every year in December to see which scenes get me the most, and then I will tell you guys on YouTube what happened, because the first time I didn't cry, the second time cried twice. The third time I'm watching the movies will be next year, next December, so I'm trying not to let myself watch the movies too much, just because I want to see if the crying starts again. Okay, I'm not a crier, but like still, I do want to experience this again because this is Lord of the Rings and it's supposed to make you laugh, make your heart warm, make you scared and cry. So if I am to be a true fan of this, I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to keep watching it every December, and I'm gonna have to see what happens to me during the end. I bet the end of Return of the King is probably going to get me hard again. I bet the ending of Fellowship's probably going to get me really hard. I bet some more scenes are probably going to happen. And then when I'm older, I'm probably going to be like a fan who just, I don't know. You never know. You never know what will happen. All right. My favorite funny scenes, though, are definitely Gimli. Basically, anything he says is hilarious, and I found myself laughing out loud several times. Gandalf's humor is very, like, edgy, I guess, and kind of grumpy, and that makes me laugh. Bilbo's humor is dry and very blunt and kind of, like, very British, and I love it when he laughs or says something funny or, like, jumps around. And it has a lot of energy in the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring. I just love his energy. It's contagious. And I love that Bilbo has a soft English accent. Very, very British, very proper, very well-mannered, like that. I think he would have been he would be a good author, you know, a very good poetic author, kind of like Tolkien. However, I do think Bilbo would have written in more simple terms, and he wouldn't be super long-winded. I don't think he would take pages and pages and pages and pages to describe shrubbery or not dumb, but an unimportant little thing like a blade of grass or a swamp. Maybe like half a page at the most to describe it, like just enough so that people would understand, but not like pages until they get bored, because Bilbo likes simplistic things. He likes things to be plain and easy to understand. I know this based on how he reacted to the contract. When he was being given the contract to try to read it, he didn't understand it. And when Thorin, the dwarf in the Hobbit, was trying to explain that he would be going with them to defeat Smaug the dragon, he's like, I don't understand any of this. And they're like, oh man, we sang a whole song about it. We read a map. Haven't you been listening? He's like, I want it in simple terms. So if Bilbo was just your normal, average geek and not a hobbit, and he read Tolkien's works about Middle-earth, like the Silmarillion, which Tolkien wrote, it's a little less known, but it's there. I haven't tried reading it, and I don't know if I want to, because it's like a Bible text or something. It's very old, archaic, words are being used, and the way it's written is just kind of like long, and there's so many names to keep track of, and I don't know if I want to go through that. So a lot of people have warned me about it, and I was like, oh no, I'm done, I'm good. If he were to read that, he would be like, I understand nothing, and he'd probably just watch YouTube videos about it and understand it that way. I just know that would be his reaction. That's my reaction, and I think Bilbo and I would have been friends because we're kind of the same. I think so. Anyways, Bilbo is definitely one of my favorite characters in fantasy literature because he is definitely a big goofball with a wonderful personality, and his heart is just so pure. And he does have flaws, but he's definitely a good guy, and he knows what's up. My mother would say, "Oh, he knows what's up. He knows what's going on." My mom watched the movies, and anytime I talk to her about Bilbo, she's like, "Oh yeah, he knows what's going on." So she remembers, and I talked to Mom about Bilbo because she likes him too. She thinks he's pretty funny. And I talked to Dad about Gandalf because I feel like my dad, I don't know, I feel like my dad and I really like talking about Gandalf because he's really cool. And not only is he a wizard, but he definitely has such a wise, kind personality, a bit more stern than Bilbo's, and definitely a very grandfatherly type of personality that I really like. Deep, raspy voice of his, very almost old and creaky door-like, as I'd describe it. My dad just laughs and thinks it's funny. He doesn't think his Gandalf's voice is an old creaky door, and my sister thinks it's interesting that I would describe it that way. My mom thinks it's raspy, but she doesn't know about the creaky door thing either. She thinks it's kind of weird. I like the old creaky door. I think it would describe him very well because he's very old and his voice is creaky. Not creepy, but creaky. You know what I mean? And I don't know, I just like that. I like that his voice is like that because it just sounds like how I imagined he'd sound when I read the books for the first time. I was like, this is how I think he sounds. And then I watched the movie, sure enough, yeah, that's how he sounds. And yes, Ian McKellen definitely has a deep voice, so that definitely helps. It helps a lot. My dad thinks that Gandalf is pretty cool. He likes him. He thinks he's one of the best wizards to ever pop out of fantasy literature. I do too. And I feel like my dad would have been friends with Gandalf because they kind of have like a similar personality type, you know, like the similar like wisdom, sternness, kindness, you know, that like older like, hey, I know what's going on, I know things, and I'm going to tell you about them, and you're going to learn, that kind of thing, and like insightful, and they both are very like they know what's up. And then I think my mom is a bit more like Bilbo, like more simple and straightforward and just kind of like, I'm relaxed, like that kind of thing. And I think that I'm kind of like Bilbo too, I guess, since I'm kind of like that, but I'm also I don't know. I guess I do have a little bit of smartness. I mean, Bilbo is pretty smart too, and so is Gandalf. But I feel like Gandalf knows, like if you've been hiding something, and you're like, I haven't been hiding anything. He's like, oh, you've been hiding something. You know, like he'll suspect. My mom and I were having a conversation in the kitchen one night, and she described his eyes as being eyes of steel, and I said, what does that mean? And she told me that his eyes, like when they look at you, she said that his eyes are like piercing when they look at you, and that like he knows that you've been hiding something and he's watching. And she said that his eyes were very like, I don't want to say hard because I don't think she said they were hard, but she definitely said that they were knowing and they were like suspecting something, you know what I mean? But then she also said that they were kind and loving, so that was pretty cool. The first part of what she said about being steely, when I was confused and she explained that they were piercing, I was like, oh man, I never thought they were, because when I watched the movie, I never thought they were like that. I thought they were just like kind, but like with a wise glint in them or something. And then when my mom said those words to me, I was like, wait, what? This is making me nervous. I don't know how I feel now. And then when she reassured me about the kind and loving part of his eyes, I was like, okay, great. Okay, he's not as bad as I he's not as scary as I thought he'd be. Although he says he's dangerous, but I don't know. um, yeah. I also told my mom that he is a wise old man, and she laughed and said he has to look the part. He can't just be a wise old man and not look the part, and I just kind of laughed. I thought it was funny. And I told my dad that Gandalf was very good at doing wizardry, and he agreed with me. He said, yes, he really is. And my dad and I were having a conversation at dinner one time, and I said, what did you think of Gandalf being betrayed by Saruman? And my dad gave me a really good answer. He said that this is some of what he said to me. He said it was very demoralizing. And I said, why is that? He said it was a dark moment in the book. Gandalf looked up to Saruman, and the fact that Saruman betrayed him broke his heart. And my dad said, why would he do that? That was very wrong of him. And then he basically told me that he did not like reading that part of the book, and he felt bad for Gandalf. Or he said something to that degree. And I said I did too. I said I did not like that part in the story. And my dad said that he agreed with me and wished that Saruman would have turned into the light or else. Or I don't know if he said that exact thing, but I felt like my dad thought so. And then I just kind of laughed. I thought it was funny that he would think so. And I told my dad that I wrote a story about Saruman and how he betrayed Gandalf and how it made him feel. And it's kind of dramatic, sort of, and full of characters showing vulnerability and emotions and being out of character, because that was the intent of the story. And I did not do that on purpose. I told my dad, and he said, I think you have Tolkien's attention from heaven. And that was it. That was, I quote. And I said, you think? And he's like, I think so. And I just kind of laughed. I was like, okay, if you say so. So, side note, my dad actually grew up. He was a Tolkien fan, as I am now. He read the books, watched the movies several times, read the books millions of times. So he kind of knows some stuff going on. So, yeah. And my mom watched those. She never read the books, but she watched the movies, and she read The Hobbit. But she didn't read the Lord of the Rings books because they're too long. She's like, I can't, they're so long. I'm simple, I'm not like this. And she watched the movies, and my dad's done it all. I've kind of done it all too. So, and also the rest of my family was acquainted with them. My sister read the books, said it was too long. One of her friends is a fan. The rest of my family has done both. They all said the same thing to me. They all said that the books were super lengthy and that Tolkien just does a bunch of unnecessary describing that he doesn't need to do. And a lot of my family members said that they couldn't finish the books, except for my older brother, who's grown up now. But he told me to keep powering through it when I was having trouble. And he's like, you're going to love it. You're going to appreciate the world. And I was like, okay, if you say so. And I tried it. And I was like, wrong. And he's like, oh, come on. He just kind of laughed about it. So, yeah, most of my family, you know, like Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, just kind of runs through it, I guess. I mean, a lot of my family members have read it or watched it. So they're not under a rock, so that's good. And they know what's up. So I'm not the only one. I know what's up. I've done it all, pretty much, like my dad. Although I never finished the books. If the books were edited down, no one would be having these complaints. And everyone would have finished them. But yeah, the books are really cool, though. If you want to read it and you love longness, then you can read it. If you want a lot of longness, I guess you can read it because the writings are not meant to be taken quickly. They're meant to be taken slowly and one at a time. So yeah, if you like world building and Tolkien's like very linguistic writing style, then you can read it. Then read it, go ahead, be a fanatic. But if you like more modern storytelling and like the kaboom, my dad always said, kaboom, headcanons, and all the quickness of we need to go, the ring needs help, we gotta destroy it, then watch the movies. But it depends on the person. So Favorite character, Bilbo, Gandalf. I like Frodo. He's pretty cool. Very quiet and shy though, but very resilient. And he's just strong. Unwavering determination always helps him to kill Sauron. So that Saruman and Sauron don't team together, although they do at one point. Or at least Saruman tries to join with Sauron, and that it doesn't work. But Frodo's determination to go up Mount Doom and throw the ring into the fire really helps him a lot. And he is cheerful and happy-go-lucky at first, like his uncle, but he's a bit more serious, a bit more grim toward the end, and he has PTSD, which is really sad because he was a war veteran, if you want to think about it in more modern context, that he's basically fighting in war, and he was a soldier pretty much, and then when he came back from destroying Sauron, he was having traumas. He was not doing well. And he was sick, you know? He was mentally and emotionally damaged, and the Shire couldn't help him, you know? He couldn't live in the Shire. He couldn't go back to a normal life. He had to leave. And that's what made me cry at the end of the movies, is the fact that he had to leave, and the fact that he basically had to go somewhere else to find peace because he was a war veteran. And I guess when I was thinking about it in that sort of context, it made me cry because of my previous knowledge of what happens to him on my previous readings and watchings of the movie. I just knew what was going to happen. I knew that he had to leave, and that's what made me cry. And I knew that he was a war veteran, and just realizing that he was going through the PTSD and probably survivor's guilt, if to a degree, maybe survivor's guilt, I don't know. But some people with PTSD do get it. I don't know why. I don't know what it is with having survivor's guilt, but I do know that there are some soldiers who do get it, and it is awful. It is really awful. You never want to go through that. It's really awful. I would not go through that if I were you. But I guess Frodo did have it to a degree and had to leave. And then knowing that, I lost it. Okay. I just lost it. And then I told my dad why I was feeling such things, and he's like, yeah, I watched it and I lost it too. He's like, yeah, it was so well done, and he basically agreed with me. So he was like, I know. Yeah, he does not like the ending either for the same reasons I don't like it. He thinks it's sad, but it was meant to be sad, but still he's like, oh man. And I was like, of course. They had to do that. The storytellers really had to ruin us with that ending. I can't get over it. I bet it's probably going to hit me even more next time I watch the movie. Oh my gosh, I can't. Gollum, aka Smeagol, was definitely super tragic. He was so tragic because he does something evil. He basically kills his cousin for the ring, if I recall correctly, which is not good. And then he grabs the ring and says, it's my precious, I'm gonna get the ring forever. And then he gets it, lives like several decades alone, and then he finds Bilbo, and Bilbo snatches the ring, which causes Smeagol such distress. He's become Gollum at this point. He can't even eat regular food because he doesn't remember what bread tastes like. And he's basically like stuck in a loner shell of himself. And that's really, really depressing. And the fact that he almost turns good was the clincher for me. He almost turned good. The fact that he was willing to help Frodo get to Mount Doom to destroy the ring, I was like, at first I had high hopes for Smeagol, aka Gollum. I was like, okay, he's going to turn good. I know it. He's going to help Frodo. He's definitely going to not betray Frodo this time. He's not going to become bad. But then in the last moments of the movie, when he's going to destroy the ring and Frodo claims it, I was like, seriously? He has to claim the ring? He can't. He's the protagonist. He's supposed to destroy it. But then I remember that nobody could destroy the ring on their own and it'll corrupt everyone. And I was like, darn it. I really thought he was going to destroy it forever. And then Gollum literally bites off Frodo's finger and throws the ring into the fire, and Frodo only has 9 fingers. I wish that fingers grew back, because if Frodo's finger grew back, then that would be really miraculous. If the gods decided, or whoever decided to grow his finger back one day, that would have been really good. Having 9 fingers is kind of creepy, even when you have, especially when you have your ring finger bitten off. Ew. I think instead of biting it off, Smeagol should have taken the ring from Frodo's finger gently and still fallen into the volcano, but instead of biting his finger and accidentally falling, like, okay, great, he should have seen the ring back, this is my precious, but then decide to change, like maybe the whole time he's like, I'm plotting to kill Frodo, but then when he sees Frodo can't destroy it on his own, maybe have him take it off gently from his finger, look at Frodo and be like, he can't destroy the precious, so I'll do it for him instead. And then maybe he intentionally throws himself in with the ring and destroys it himself, but his motive would be different. Like maybe instead of trying to kill Frodo and get Shelob out, maybe have Shelob still come out, but come out of nowhere when Smeagol isn't knowing. Like maybe he's unaware that Shelob is in the cave or doesn't know or forgets. And then Shelob comes out and attacks Frodo out of nowhere, and then Smeagol trying to get Sam to save Frodo. And then for the redemption arc of Smeagol, we could have him still grab the ring and throw himself in the fire with it to prove that good can destroy evil, but evil can also destroy itself as well, which is something that happens too. Like, evil can be created, but then eventually it'll come back to bite itself and destroy itself and undo itself, whether intended or not. But then we could have Smeagol, like, decide, instead of killing Frodo or biting off his finger, I'm destroying the ring to save Frodo's life because he can't destroy it himself. So then maybe have him destroy it with that in mind and still jump in with the ring and destroy it to save Frodo's life, because maybe having Smeagol realizing that he can't do it on his own could probably make him realize that nobody can do it on their own but Smeagol, because he's had the ring the longest. So then having him decide that to save Frodo's life, he could have destroyed it for Frodo's safety, you know? And then having Shelob coming out of nowhere in the Spire Cave and Smeagol not knowing that she was in there, or possibly, like, forgetting that she was in there and thinking nobody was there, and then having him try to get Sam to save Frodo, still could have worked. And Frodo could be like, Sam, go home. And then Sam could have his moment of, oh no, what have I done? But then, because then Frodo would have been trusting Smeagol instead of Sam because of the ring's influence, maybe still have that Sam go home scene. But then have Smeagol change, you know? Like, when he meets Frodo, he at first is like, I'm going to kill Frodo. But then when he sees the ring, he's like, he makes a heel face turn. He's like, nope, I'm going to save him. So that could have happened. I think Tolkien could have written it that way. It still would have been a great story. The outcome would have been the same, but I think Smeagol's character would be a little less tragic, and he probably would have had a better time turning good and staying good for the rest of the story. Not almost turning good, helping them get to Mordor, and then murdering the finger of Frodo and jumping into the ring because he wants it for himself. Because then he turns evil all over again, and then evil destroys itself. But instead, have Smeagol help Frodo. He still has this talk about whether to kill him or to not, but then he decides not to kill Frodo, and he decides to help him, and then have him see the ring and decide to save Frodo if Frodo can't save himself. And then everything I just said previously could still work out, but with Smeagol not killing Frodo, but instead trying to help him. Tolkien could have made Smeagol turn good and then stay good to prove that even the evilest of villains can have a redemption arc, which is a big theme in the Bible too. A lot of scriptures emphasize it, I know that for sure. But Tolkien was so cruel to Smeagol, like cruel, not cool, but cruel, and he decided to make him almost turn good and then turn evil all over again. I was like, why? J.R.R. Tolkien must have been having some thought in his head. What if Smeagol didn't turn good and stay evil? I mean, some people are like that. Some people can do that, but Smeagol needs to turn good and stay good, okay? He needs to, like, have a break, and Mr. Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien, did not give him a break. So, he basically became very mean to Smeagol. So, wah, 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 wah. And even if Peter Jackson did take my idea, everyone would be complaining about Smeagol not having a redemption arc, and they'd be like, this is not what was in the book. Why did you do this, Peter Jackson? This is not right. So I guess I'm glad that Peter Jackson didn't take that route, but at the same time, I would not want to hear everyone complaining about Smeagol not being good. Or being too good. I don't know. I don't know. I think Smeagol needs a break, okay? He needs to be good or else. But I guess Tolkien was trying to convey something realistic, I guess. So that works. But yeah. Okay. I loved Sam, though. Sam is super cheerful, and he knows what he's doing. He knows what's up. He knows how to cheer up his friend when he needs it. And he and Frodo are best buds, okay? They're just besties forever, and they're always going to remain besties, and I know it. They're never going to stop being besties. I have a whole playlist of songs dedicated to the characters in Lord of the Rings, but I'll be talking about that in another video. But then all the songs are basically for different characters in different situations, and some of them are I think, something that Sam would have liked, because some of the songs I play are about friendship and love and loyalty, and I think Sam would play such songs for Frodo. I do have songs about resilience and pain and the cost of, like, you know, like, I guess fame, you know, like being well known and then having pain with it, and then like having your personality change and growing old and, like, being young at one point and realizing that, like, you are now old and you're kind of like, you've gone through things. And I do have songs about, you know, like resilience, like keep going. And I think Frodo would like songs like that. I do have a few songs about just living life and being simple and being happy. And I think Bilbo would like songs like that. I do have songs about wisdom and waking up and learning things. I think Gandalf would like it. I do have songs that mention magic in the lyrics, and I think Gandalf would also like it because he's a wizard, duh. A wizard isn't a wizard unless he has magical powers of some sort. If a wizard does not have magical powers, he's just a regular human. Or he can be just a regular human, but he usually is a regular human if he don't got magic. If he does have magic, though, he definitely a powerful magic that's about light and nature, or just like using orbs and stuff and staves, whatever you want to call them, then he is a wizard. Most definitely. So songs like that, I think, or songs that are kind of have a mysterious feeling to them, I think Gandalf would have liked. And I guess Saruman would have liked songs like that too, because he's also a wizard, but he's an evil one. He's not a nice one. Most wizards I know are nice and kind and wise, but some of them can be evil and horrible and terrible and bad. I know some of those guys, and I don't like them. I don't like their friend group. They gotta get a new friend group because they've been hanging out in the wrong crowd when they were in school. They really have, and they need to stop it or else. Yeah, I know another wizard who is evil, and he kind of hung out in the wrong crowd when he was at school, and I'm kind of not joking. I know you guys I know you know what I'm talking about here, but there's another wizard I know who was hanging out in the wrong crowd growing up, and he had the wrong kind of friends, and he just decided evil was fun, and he just became a demented little evil guy, and didn't even turn good. Another wizard I know of hung out with the wrong crowd growing up, had a friend, lost them, and became sort of not pleasant, but then did things to become better and then died. So yeah, that one was tragic. Definitely. I know what you guys might be thinking. What are you talking about? But yeah, I think you know what I meant. I think you know what I'm going for. Some wizards aren't always that decent. Some of them have the wrong friend group in school. Some of them become evil because their parents decided they were evil, and some of them just don't even want to be evil but become evil because of circumstances. So yeah, they're also as human as we are, so they're no different than us. But some wizards are decent. Some are not evil. Some know what they're doing. Some know how to be kind people. And some know how to be decent. And some know what wisdom and love is. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Gandalf is definitely one of them. And he did not hang out in the wrong crowd growing up. He did not go with the wrong type of friends. He did not become evil. He did not want to become evil. He did not want to desire power. He definitely did not have the wrong kind of people with him, unlike some other wizards who came later after. That turned out horribly. But Gandalf did have the right people. He was brought up correctly by the other wizards and other elves that he was around growing up. He knew how to be a decent person, you know? I mean, like, the people that he was with taught him well. They raised him up well, you know? Kind of like how, like, a parent would raise their child well or unwell, depending on what they decide. You know, I think Gandalf was raised up well, you know? He was raised right. People decided to teach him the right things before he decided to have adventures in Middle-earth. They taught him the right lessons at the right time, and he became more than decent. He became probably the best wizard that I know. Probably the best one for a reason. Most definitely. And he's probably my favorite wizard. All the other wizards are great too, but he's definitely the one that I would probably look up to for wisdom the most, because he's the most trustworthy, and he don't take no evil stuff. He don't take no evil tomfoolery from anyone. He knows, because he was raised correctly, you see. And I bet you whoever brought him up, the elves and the other people in the Undying Lands or in Middle-earth or wherever he was before he came, or no, I guess they knew what happened, you know? They knew how to teach him correctly. And if they hadn't, then things would have turned out horribly. But I'm glad they taught him correctly, unlike some other wizards. Yeah, but I know some other wizards who aren't taught correctly learn to grow up and they learn how to be better people. There are those types of wizards too, and you're like, okay, they're just human, they learned. Some never learned to be better, and some were raised correctly. There are a couple wizards that I know of, who are a few of them, who are raised correctly, but I'll be talking about them in other videos. Not here, because they're not from Middle-earth. They don't belong in Middle-earth. I'll be talking about them in other videos though, so I'll see them later. What am I doing here? I am so crazy right now for doing this in my video. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this video up now before it gets too long. So yes, my least favorite character in the video is definitely all the evil villains, because they scare me so bad. I don't like them. I think they're horribly bad, and they cause pain to the characters. Denethor's a good example of causing pain to his younger son, Faramir. He is a horrible father to him, and a very crazy, insane man, and he should not have been alive. I think his wife should have been alive to raise both kids, because she knows better. She knows how to be a decent person. She knows how to raise a kid perfectly, unlike her extremely unruly and crazy and bad crazy husband. Why did he even fall in love with her in the first place, with his wife in the first place, if he knew that he was going to grow up to be crazy? Maybe he didn't know that he was going to be crazy. Maybe he was once a good person, but he turned bad. And I think if his wife hadn't died, things wouldn't have become south for him. So she unfortunately had to die at the worst time possible, when her second son was a very little kid. She had to die. And if she hadn't died, if her health hadn't gone for the worst when her Faramir came to the world and was conceived, she would have raised him correctly, and she wouldn't have let her husband berate him and call him names and tell him that he was not good for society and that he was going to not do things in life and that he was going to fail. Now Faramir is just trying to prove to his father that he can do everything right and that he's not going to fail and that he's going to do everything to make him proud. But his father don't believe him and think he's crazy. his father says he's too much of a geek. And Faramir don't care that he's a geek because he is a geek. He loves to read. He loves music. He loves learning. He loves being a wizard's pupil, in the words of Denethor. And he isn't much of a soldier person. He wouldn't go out and fight. He would stay home and he'd listen to the radio every day. Maybe watch a Disney movie with his girlfriend Eowyn. Maybe he would, I don't know, take her to the library or something. Okay, just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. I'm just humoring you guys and trying to make you relate to modern context with these two people. I don't think he would have really done that because I don't know. Well, you never know. Maybe taking her to the library, an elven library to read, or going for a walk would have been most likely. But I don't know about Disney movies. I don't think they had Disney movies in Middle Earth. But if they did, he probably would have watched a Disney movie with her. He's that type of guy. I'm going to modernize him again. He'd be that guy who's in his room all day on his phone listening to country music or whatever, writing some dramatic stories and sending it to his girlfriend and be like, hey, look, here are some stories on text message, that kind of thing. He's that kind of guy, I feel like. He's just chill, kind, and he don't really care what the society says about him. He's just a good guy, and he just wants to be a good guy forever. He is just this, hey, what's up? Hey, want to hang out kind of guy. That's kind of his vibe to me, I feel like. When I read the book and seen the movie, his vibe to me was very like, I'm a geek friend, I'm a nerd, and I read in class, and I'm a language arts person. That's kind of his vibe. Boromir was like, I want to grow up and serve in the army. I want to go to selective services and fight kind of guy. And Denethor is the crazy daddy who doesn't approve of Faramir's interests because he only likes Boromir's interests. He's the crazy psychopathic dad who needs therapy and who needs to see a doctor. He needs to make a phone call to see a doctor or else. Okay, this is getting crazy. And his wife is, well, gone by the time of the movies. But I feel like his wife would have been the complete opposite of Denethor. And she would have been the understanding mother who like cooks and cleans and goes to the store every day to get food, turns on movies, makes popcorn, loves her children, loves her husband, loves them all equally, reads them bedtime stories every day with hot chocolate. She'd be that type of mother, I feel like. I feel like she'd also be the type of mother who, like, if Faramir was denied something from Denethor, the crazy dad, she would have been like, I'm going to undeny that and, like, have him undeny him things or you know what I mean? And I think she would have been the type of mother who's, like, taking her kids to the park every day, taking them on hikes, taking them to magical rainforests, magical forests to see forest guardians or whatever, taking them to the library to read, well, Faramir probably, and taking Boromir to places where he can explore fighting weapons and guns and swords to learn how to defend himself and to defend his nation. Because Boromir wants danger. He wants to be a soldier. He wants to fight. He wants to go to selective services when he's 18. Okay. When, he wants to go to selective services at 18. He wants to get in danger. He wants to go on adventures. And Faramir just wants to go to the park and go hike. And he wants to be around nature. And he wants to go home and watch a movie and read a book and drink hot chocolate. Okay. Okay, these are the vibes of the two kids I'm getting here. And he just wants to stay home with mom. And Boromir wants to go with dad and fight. He wants to go to learn how to be a soldier. And he wants to go get training at an academy or a boot camp or something and military stuff to fight. Okay, I'm kidding, but you get the idea. The kids are very different. I just put some modern references in for you guys just to humor you a little bit in this video, to kind of take a break from the things that are lore compliant. And I wanted to put some modern things in just to kind of humor you about Boromir and Faramir and their parents. Just kind of make it a little interesting. Maybe I should make another video where I modernize every single character and try to decide what would happen if they were alive today in our world in the age of man in Middle Earth. I like to call it late Earth, so I'd like to see what happens. How they would react in late Earth, which is the generation I'm currently alive in right now. I would love to see that. I'll definitely be doing that in another video. But anyways, I liked Boromir and Faramir. They had a wonderful, healthy brother relationship that they deserve. And their father is crazy, and they are just nice, decent people, and they know it, right? They just know it. They know that they're going to go far in life, and they know that they will have lots of fun. And at least for Faramir, he's going to marry the girlfriend that he loves, Éowyn. They're going to hit it off, get together, get married, and live happily ever after and ride into the sunset and have some kids and treat them correctly this time and let them do whatever their parents denied them and take them to watch all the movies they want. Okay, just kidding. But probably read the books and become scholars and write or something, because that's what the Middle Earth people do. I'm thinking of Late Earth, which is the Earth I live in. There would be like early Middle Earth, which is like the Silmarillion that Tolkien wrote, which is kind of like the Bible of Middle Earth. Then there would be Middle Earth, which is like Lord of the Rings events that happen. And there would be Late Middle Earth, which would be like the Age of Man, real history, Greek mythology, the lost cities that got lost, and like the American Revolution, English history probably, and like real history would come. This would be like Late Middle Earth, which is like what the schools teach you about, like all the histories from Greeks to the Renaissance and medieval times, on to American Revolution, to the Industrial Revolution, all the way up to the Roaring 20s and Great Depression, all the way up to the Cold War in our modern times. That is all Late Middle Earth. And this is the time period. I like to believe that I'm living in Middle Earth right now, because Tolkien wants you to believe it's real. This is the generation of man, and this is the generation of man that I'm growing up in, and this is a generation of Tolkien's world that I'm in, where these stories have become legends, and they're iconic, and everyone talks about them all day, every day. And real history is coming to pass, and like COVID-19 is coming to pass. That was a big event. I would say this is a new age of Middle Earth. And I think that like when a big event like this happens, that becomes history, a new age begins. This is a new age of peace and healing. And COVID-19 was basically like, okay, this is going to sound very morbid right now, but COVID-19 was basically like Sauron taking his vengeance for losing his ring by causing COVID-19, if you want to really Tolkien it up, I guess. And then the virus spreading everywhere. It could be Sauron saying, Frodo Baggins of the Shire destroyed my ring in the third age of Middle Earth, and I'm mad at him. I'm taking my vengeance on him, and I'm putting on this virus to kill people. It could be Sauron. It could be Saruman being like, Gandalf betrayed me for good. I have not had vengeance in years. I will help Sauron release this virus, and kaboom, as my daddy would put it, it's out. Something like that. I think Tolkien would have done good to write a story like that if he was alive, but he's gone. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. He was definitely a scholar who took the histories and turned it into reality for us. And if he was still alive, he probably would have written a story like that. I highly don't doubt that Tolkien would have done that. I have no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Anyways, I did not like Sauron. He was horrible. He was extremely evil. I wish that he didn't exist. But then if he didn't exist, there would be no Lord of the Rings story. I think Sauron was like ghost peppers, side note, because they're fiery and hot. My dad thinks so too. My dad thinks the ring wraiths would love ghost peppers. Anyway, and so would Saruman for the same reasons. But I think Saruman would love ghost peppers and he would eat them like they're M&Ms. But I'll do another video though, definitely in the future, not only modernizing Lord of the Rings characters and putting them in late Middle Earth, which is where I'm at right now growing up, a new age of Middle Earth. I have lost the count of ages. And then having them having theories about what foods they would eat. I'd probably do a video about foods and how it would tie to the characters in this story. And that would be an interesting video. I'll definitely do that in the next YouTube video or something, or in the next few. I'll be doing something like that. But yeah, Saruman betraying Gandalf was definitely a very demoralizing moment, as my daddy would put it. And I think Gandalf probably didn't take it too well. I think he probably felt very heartbroken and upset. And he probably had some moments of vulnerability when Saruman was trying to be decent and was shooed away by his friend. I mean, I actually wrote a story about it, and it turned out really good. Basically, that's basically what happens in a nutshell. Gollum was tragic. He needed a break. Sam and Frodo are the best friends ever. I could see them, just best friending it up every single day and having so much fun, because why not? They need to be best friends, and Sam is cheerful and always raising Frodo's spirits, and Frodo is always like resilient, and he is like, I'm not giving up. I'm gonna keep going forever. And he's always there to see Sam through everything too. Gandalf is always the old wise grandfather that people need. And Bilbo would be that cool uncle who is always goofing around with you, playing games and having fun. And I think the hobbits are just fun people, and the elves are elegant and kind of like studious, and the dwarves are crazy, rowdy, ruckus people who love to dig, and go into the earth. The elves like to plant things, the hobbits love to eat, and the humans like to talk, and sometimes they like to fight, and the wizards love to show off their magic powers and go to school. Okay, oh, darn it. Wizards going to school, seriously. I'm not the only one who decided to drop an idea of wizards going to school. Seriously, I'm sure they have to learn magic, okay? Okay, I'll be talking about that in another video, though. Anyway, what else? Oh, yes, overall, I did love the stories. I did love how Tolkien's writings were meant to be taken slowly. You were meant to take your time with his writings. You are not meant to read it all at once. I did like that. Even though it's long, I do find the poetry beautiful and exquisite to read on its own, and the way he just describes things is so vivid, and there's lots of imagery. I love it. You can picture it in your head. I just extremely love it. It's just like so fun. I could listen to like some excerpts of Tolkien and just slip myself in the moment and just be immersed all the way through. That's what I do. The movies are like masterpieces. It's a project of love coming from the creators, and it shows in every little thing that goes on around in the movies. Every little sound effect, every little voice actor, every cast member. All the things they say, the way the script is written. Yes, very juicy and glorious. That's how I would describe the whole story, no matter how you are exposed to it. If you've been living under a rock, just get exposed to the story, okay? I don't care how, just get exposed to it. You can read the books, watch the movies, or have your parents sit you down and tell you the whole thing. But just get exposed. If you're living under a rock, tell your parents to tell you Lord of the Rings, and just listen to the way they say it. Listen to the way they talk about it. Listen to the descriptions, and remember it for life. You will remember it for life. People will ask you, and you want to know the answers to the questions. You want to make sure you know the answers, or else they'll ask you to not live under a rock anymore. Yes, I'm a fan, and I'll always be a fan, and nobody will stop me. I love the themes of the story, which I addressed earlier. I addressed all the scenes, characters, develop really well. I love how human all the characters are. They're human, and it's so crazy how real they feel. It's like you're making friends and enemies with them, and you're trying to know who to trust and who to not trust. I love that Tolkien and the movies do that. It's so well done. Yes. Okay. Scenes that made me cry, I did that. I talked about scenes that made me laugh, heartwarming scenes, and funny scenes. Talked about funny scenes with Gimli. Any scene with Sam and Frodo is definitely very heartwarming and sweet. I love Sam and Frodo. It's just any scene with wisdom, or any scene that's calm is just heartwarming for the most part. Or when a character's comforting another character is very sweet. So I love all the heartwarming stuff. It makes me go, oh yay, oh nice. And my heart just gets the fuzzy wuzzies. It just gets the fuzzy wuzzies. That's how I like to describe it. I did find all the fighting scenes pretty crazy. Every person in Middle-earth is good with fighting in some way. And I think that they deserve, if they were living in late Middle-earth, 2024, they would probably go to selective services and bang, 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 with no problem. They would know what to do. Their fighting methods could probably be a little outdated, and people would say so, but they wouldn't care. They would use it anyway. Yes. Also, orcs are terrible and I hate them. I wish they never existed. If orcs didn't exist, then there would be no orc blood everywhere. And if orcs never existed, it wouldn't be creepy. It wouldn't be as creepy. But yes, what else? I'll be making a video about music, about the songs characters listen to. I'll be like making a discussion video where I talk about it. And it would be really fun. Treebeard and the Ents. I like Treebeard and the Ents. They're really cool. They love nature. They love environmental science. They love trees. Anything to do with forests. They would love any movies about forests and trees. I always say forests like forests because that's how one of my friends says it. Like the R sound like forests instead of forests. I really like that. So now I started saying it like forests. But yes, Treebeard likes going in the forest every day, and he is really sad when his forest of tree ents are destroyed by Saruman because it makes him really, really sad, and he wants the ents to come back, but their wives are lost, like literally lost, so they can't have kids, and they're going to become trees. Boo-hoo, I feel so sad now. But I do like Treebeard. I do think that he speaks too slowly, and that he needs to speed up his speech and stop talking like a robot, or everybody's going to be annoyed with him, and they're going to think he's crazy and he needs speech therapy. But no, that's how the Ents talk. Okay, that's how the Ents talk. They talk slowly. They talk Old Entish, if I remember correctly, and they don't talk that fast, but they are definitely very kind tree people. Tree people. Definitely. Tree spirits, whatever, tree guardians. I don't know what I'd call them. But I guess I would call them tree guardians because they guard Fangorn Forest. Fangorn. Fangorn Forest. Guarded by the Ents. It reminds me of a different movie though. But I'll review that too. A movie about forests being guarded by magical people. I like movies with forests guarded by magical people. It makes forests very exciting and like very eccentric and very cool. Although you won't find this kind of stuff in real life, you'll definitely find it more in movies. And forests guarded by either ents, fairies, or fuzzy guardians that are magical make forests very exciting and fun to be in. Very like whimsical, and forests with like little magical creatures that sing. Oh, definitely. Any forest like that. I don't like forests guarded by beasts though, like beasts and demons. Well, maybe gods, but even they are beasts. Scare me. I watched a Japanese movie about a forest guarded by gods and demons and beasts. And that movie was creepy and very bloody and had a lot of fighting in it, maybe more than Lord of the Rings. There's a lot of action in it. And I don't know how Treebeard would feel about that, honestly. I think that movie kind of reminded me of Treebeard a little bit when I watched it. When I was watching it, I couldn't help but think of the Ents in their forest. And I was like, how would Treebeard feel about this movie? That's literally the first thing that happened in my brain when I finished watching the movie. I was like, this movie's kind of scary, honestly. I was like, I don't know why I decided to watch it. I don't know. But a forest with beasts guarding it is kind of scary. I don't want to be in that kind of forest because, it's very unnerving. I'd rather go to a forest guarded by ents. But in another video, I'll talk about forests and their magics and how their magical eccentricities in movies compare to forests and how they are in real life and how unmagical they are in real life. But I'll be talking about that in another video though. Why am I getting ahead of myself? I keep like alluding to all these things and going on tangents, darn it. I am a lot like Tolkien. I really am. I kind of am. I don't know. I think Tolkien and I would have been friends for some reason. Okay, anyway. Yeah, I do like that Treebeard loves the forest, and I think he'd like any movies and stories to deal with magical forests because it would remind him of his home. The Shire is filled with food and grasses and leaves and soil and houses and just pipeweed. And I think hobbits love the Shire. I would love to live in the Shire if I could. It would be so fun. It'd be really fun. It's very safe and quiet there. And I would just be chatting with every hobbit I can find, as long as they're a nice hobbit and that they're not mean. If they're a mean hobbit like the Sackville Baggins, I would stay away from them at all costs, and I'd go chat and phone Bilbo for a call and chat with him. I would have done that. I would have been like, hey, what's up? And I think I would have geeked out about books with Bilbo. And I think that we would have been friends. I think that he is a respectable, kind-hearted soul, a very kind person, and I think that if I was chatting with him over tea and cake, I would have been, I don't know, chatting about Thorin and the dwarves, and I think that we would have been friends and best friending it up for good. That kind of thing, you know? That would have been really fun. I would have loved to live in the Shire if I could live in a place in Middle-earth, but that's going to be another video. But yeah, I do like the movies and the books. They are both masterpieces of their time. But if I had to choose, I prefer the movies over the books, mainly for its pacing, its urgency, the fact that it devotes the world building to the eyes, you know? The eyes get to see the world builder, the world building in the movies. So it's all done with visual effect. So then more time is devoted to characters, musical score, audio, sound effects, all that kind of good, juicy, jazzy stuff. And the world is in the eyes. Unless you want to read the book and hear more things that happen that are off screen, then you can. You can if you want to. But the movies are definitely one of those things that really adapt themselves really well. I think that the next best adaptation of a book to a movie is definitely Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, 1971. Yes, 1971, not 2005. And I do think that they adapted the book really well and made it kind of lighter at times, you know, like made it lighter. And I don't know, it kept to the story of the, like the spirit of the book while changing things in the story. They were kind of minor, but it made the movie really good, you know, like it kind of, I think that even though it did came before Lord of the Rings adaptation, they did really good with that one too, and that one's also pretty much a masterpiece, and like, oh, I think it is a masterpiece, almost as good as like Lord of the Rings. And I think that they also, they may have changed some things, but I think they caught the spirit of the book really well and lightened it up and made Willy, the title character, not come in until halfway through the movie. And then when he comes in, the first half of the movie is focused on Charlie, and then the second half is Willy. And then when he comes in, it just focuses on Willy the whole time, and just kind of like all the things happening in the factory. And it's a simpler story than Lord of the Rings, much more simple. But I do think that it's also a good story, but I'll be talking about Willy and his chocolate factory in another video. And I do think the hobbits would like the story. I think Bilbo especially would love to watch the movie. I think he would love it. But yes. But yeah, I'll be talking more about Lord of the Rings. I'll be talking about Willy Wonka. I'll be talking about magical forests and movies about forests that are magical. I'll be talking about forests in real life and how they compare to the ones depicted in movies. I'll be talking about foods and how it pertains to certain fictional characters and what they would like to eat and what they would not like based on their personalities and like how they act, how I think they would deal with certain foods and how they would deal with it based on how I think their like taste would be. I'll be talking about other movies and how it pertains to fictional characters and how they would react to it on this channel. I'll also be talking about more like a lot of fictional characters and how they would react to certain situations that are different. So it's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be very out of the box thinking, very like, oh, like, you know, and very surprising. So it's going to be a very interesting YouTube channel. Yeah, it'll be very fun, and I think you guys will enjoy it. You guys will really think it's funny too, because I'll be humoring you with things. But yes, this is just a snapshot of what I'm going to be doing later on the channel. And yes, I hope you really did enjoy this video episode of the Energetic Hope Cat humoring you with YouTube. And yes, I hope you like Lord of the Rings, the books and the movies. And I have a question. Would you rather... yes, the question is, do you prefer the Lord of the Rings book version or the movie version, and why or why not is the question for you. You can leave a comment, you can like, subscribe, and put a nice long insightful, thoughtful comment, and I'll be able to answer it, or I'll be more than happy to answer it in a video. I will definitely answer the question in a video, and it will help you guys, all right? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this long video. That turned out longer than I wanted it to be, but oh well, fine. And yeah, like, subscribe, comment. I'll be updating every Friday or every weekend, depending on if I feel like it. So every Friday to every weekend, basically, yeah. So I'll always be updating on the weekends for sure for the time being. But I'll let you guys know that if my schedule changes, I will let you know on the channel. So yeah, I'll definitely be updating every single weekend just for the time being. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, comment, smash that like button. Make sure to view it. Make sure to like have so many views. I want the channel to blow up. I really do. I want it to blow up and become viral. I really do. It would be so good if it was viral. But if it isn't viral, that's fine. But I would encourage it to be viral. But anyways, I hope you have a nice day. See you later.
Stop recording.